I'm so glad that you are
I'm
with.
so glad to finally be here. I've been
Yeah.
so looking forward to this.
Yes, I am so ecstatic. I've told my friends this morning and like Marco Polo. I don't know. Do you do Marco Polo? Do you know what
I
I'm talking
do.
about?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. And I'm like, what do you think? And like they're all in love with you. So can I just like geek out for a second and tell you why I wanted you to be on my channel to
Please.
discuss?
Yeah.
Okay. So first of all, I have always been drawn to astrology. Like it's always been something we can look to all these different type of things going on in the society and world, and then you're kind of like, wait, what? Wasn't there a full moon that night? And also, my son is 6, he's autistic, and he is, it's, it is wild. It ever since he was just a baby, it was full moon, he's up.
Yeah.
Getting up to it like in the middle of the night. It's always up, ready to go, energized. So it's like there's been these like things that I think that people that are in tuned on like a different frequency pick up on to some
Yeah.
degree.
Yeah.
And so I've always been interested in it. And then it also, since I react to songs based on psychology, I have been blown away by how many of the people that I react to, the singers, songwriters, creative people, refer so much to astrology. So that also was another part. But when I came across your TikTok, you are such like a shining light, even if there's days when you're not feeling like a shining light, but that's a shining light because I believe that vulnerability is so important because then it allows us to be vulnerable. And I
Hmm.
feel like you are so authentically yourself, and I think that that's something that we all are yearning for and want and need so badly in our lives. And also the way that you explain things, it actually makes sense to me. So you're just like a very beautiful combination of all of these great things that makes you, I think, why so many people love you. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, thank you so much. That means the world to me.
yeah, you're awesome and you're vulnerable and like, but you're also kind and you want to be, you speak about issues that are tough that I sometimes like am like, I don't know if I want to go there. But then
Yeah.
it's also like there's a duty at
Yeah.
the same time and you're not afraid of it. Are you ever though? Like do you ever post a video and you're like,
I used to be. TikTok was really hard for me at first.
mhm.
But I kept getting drawn to it. I felt like I was completely like vulnerable and authentic in myself, but it not until I came on TikTok and I realized how much shame I had when a little 12-year-old would like call me fat or something
Yeah.
that I could just like,
Mhm.
crawl back down. But honestly, I've been doing a lot of anti-racism work. And that really helped me because I love the stars so much, but I
Mhm.
always am going to consider myself a student of the stars and like I'm continually learning. So it was very hard for me to feel like I could teach when I am or speak if I am constantly learning.
Yeah.
But then in my anti-racism work, it really helped me that like a lot of that is a product of white supremacy, being perfect, not wanting to, and I realize that I do want to learn. I do want to learn. So as long as I take away that shame, and
Yeah.
so that's what helped me a lot. So now I'm not as afraid. But if I do get a little nervous, I will put my phone down and like walk away.
And walk away and be like, oh, yeah, I've had to do that quite a few times. But I think that that is such a like a important point is that I always will say like we are forever learners. And I'm also a different type of therapist. I'm not a therapist that feels like I'm just walking alongside the person that I'm sitting with. I don't, you know yourself better than anybody else is always what I'm saying. Like I don't always know the answers. Like I've been, I've been educated and things like that, but that's not mean that I know like it's what am I trying to say? Basically, if we're forever learners, and I love that. That does help to release shame, I think, though, too, to be like, I
Yeah.
have to be perfect. Like
Yeah.
we, as white women have been conditioned to feel like we needed to be.
Yeah, we do. We have to be, we have to be perfect. We have to be presentable. We have to look a certain way. And,
Yes.
uh, realizing that this is, a product that I'm trying to fight because knowledge is a gift. And why should I be ashamed of someone coming and saying, oh, but also this, or
Yes.
sharing their experience. That shouldn't make me feel insecure or wrong. That's obviously a conditioning.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Love that. So what brought you to this though, to this career?
Um, well, first of all, I fell into astrology, I think, as most people do. I just felt out of place. I felt like I did not belong in this world. I was like,
Yeah. I think a
I
lot of people on my channel resonate with that though. Like,
yeah.
yeah.
And I feel like almost all astrologers do. And like how you were saying earlier, even if people aren't big into astrology, like it's a part of our lives and it does resonate with people. And it resonates because they're ours. We are a part of the universe. So that's why, we do have that resonation. But I went to my like little first, little witch shop in Tulsa,
Uh-huh.
Oklahoma. Bought the books that everyone has, the only astrology book you'll ever need, and all that stuff. And
Yeah.
also was using a cheap app. So learned my astrology wrong, like most
Oh,
people do at
yes,
first.
yes, yes, yes.
Uh, then finally found out what I was. And of course, had a lot of Leo placements. And before that, I would have told you that I hated Leos. My dad, all
It's
the men in my
so
family were
funny.
Leos and
Oh,
hard. So when
whoa.
I learned that, I was like, what? Like,
You're like, what?
I felt so betrayed.
Yeah.
Um, but I was in there talking to another 14-year-old girlfriend of mine. We were going to go buy some incense and then go watch The Craft as we did.
Yeah.
Um, and she asked me if I was going to get another astrology book. And I was like, I'm kind of done. Like, I don't, it's making me more confused. I just, that saying that there's two wolves in me.
Yeah.
I used to like, I always felt that. I always
Yeah.
felt very much like the two different sides.
Mhm.
And this like astrologer in the corner, she's just like rambling off and she's like, well, it's because of all of your da 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 da. And like, I just turned and looked at her, sat down, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
And, she sat me down and explained something that I had been figure out,
Yeah.
trying to figure out what it is. And she did so easily, so quick, and I was like, oh, okay. Then I dug back in, dug
Pulled you
back in.
back in. You're like,
Yeah. Because she was like, that's what I really learned. You are so much more than one sign. Because I felt like I was a bad Taurus. The only thing I resonated with was being a big girl. Like, that was all those bad stereotypes. So I didn't want to, but
what do you mean that's connected with being a tourist woman?
yeah,
That's my sister.
yeah.
Okay. Okay.
We're known as, a little bit bigger, a little bit stockier. But see, that we're also ruled by Venus, though. And so we're also known as really beautiful, which is really
Right.
a weird conundrum.
Yes. Yes. Okay. I was gonna ask you about that maybe later, but about facial features and things, like how is it true?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
I've never felt like a Virgo because I'm not because I was like, I can be messy. I mean, I know where everything is, but
yeah,
I can thrive in it. I guess I'm more analytical, but the Pisces moon made sense because I do feel intuitive. I do feel like I know, I just like know things. I come a lot from my gut. I get, I don't know why I want to say gut, but or just like what
yeah.
I just feel know things. And then when I found out I was Scorpio rising, I was like, wait, what? Like what? And but some people have been like, "Oh, that makes sense for you." And I've been like, "I don't see myself that way." So like what does it make sense that I feel weird in this world though too?
Oh,
I
yeah,
like okay.
absolutely. Absolutely. You have, first of all, you have a lot of powerful placements in that first house as well. You
Okay.
have Pluto in Scorpio and you have Saturn in Scorpio, just like me, baby.
Oh, really?
Uh, yeah,
Okay. All right. That's probably why we're yeah, yeah.
we
Okay.
we have a lot of cool connections.
Really?
Yeah,
Ooh.
we should be friends. But
Okay.
yeah, anyway,
Fun.
and Pluto in Scorpio, that's like where he is the most powerful. That's where we have exaltation. So that's a super powerful point. And you have and the first house is the only house that's only about us. It's about our physical self and
Okay.
it's not about anyone else. All the other houses, it could be about other people and things, but not the first.
Not the
You
first.
embody this Scorpio energy, and you have Pluto and Saturn there as well. So it makes a lot of sense why Virgo hasn't always resonated with you.
Right.
And then also Scorpio rules Mars, and you have Mars in the second house, which is in Sagittarius. So
Yeah.
he's a big, and then like opposite, I think you have your, hold on, let me get out I almost have it memorized, your chart.
Oh my gosh. Amazing.
But yeah, and then you also have so the ruler of your first house, Mars, is in
Mhm.
Sagittarius in the second. And that's also in a pretty close opposition with your Chiron and Gemini and your North Node.
Okay.
So
Can
you have
you
a
tell
lot
me
of different things pulling at you. But
like,
also, people don't understand that sun sign is really something that we're going to evolve into. It's
okay.
not something that we normally start feeling our sun sign like late 30s or 40s, really depending upon.
Yeah.
They say like the ascendant is your ladder to your sun sign. This is where you want to learn how to shine. But I get it. You have a lot of powerful energies everywhere. But I also think that
Mhm.
Virgo has just been misstereotyped because every Virgo
Yeah.
I know does not have a perfectly clean room. They know where everything is,
You do. Yeah. Hmm.
but Virgo is
Yeah.
one of the ones I think has really gotten mistreated by pop.
Thank
Oh,
you.
I
Okay.
really do.
Because I hear so many bad things and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, can I admit I'm a Virgo? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's Virgo is one of my favorites. I love
Really?
Virgos. Yeah, and Virgos are drawn to me. I feel like I help
Oh
them
yeah. We're like, come to me.
because the battle with you guys is that duality. Uh, uh, Mercury has that duality, so not just Gemini, but also Virgo does as well. And people forget that Virgo. I mean, this is a sign that represents the archetype of Virgin Mary,
Yeah.
Demeter. These are the women who did not need a man in their story. That is, they produce and are on their own. But people
Yep.
just focus on the logical side. Oh, it's ruled by
Yeah.
Mercury. Oh, the details. But also, our biggest goddesses that we look to were Virgos. They
Right.
were intuitive. And I feel like
That's
that's what I just
crazy.
try to help Virgos understand. Like you are both,
Yeah.
you are both. And that was the same with why I went into astrology. I felt these two. I very much have a lot of Taurus where I want to look good and I want to do the job and I want to please. But I've got a lot of Leo and Scorpio that says, I've got a lot of animated power. I've got a lot of emotion when my Taurus wants me to be a little bit more reserved,
Mhm.
but I'm not.
But you're not, yes. And we don't want you to be. We want you
Right.
to, yes, yes. Love it. Okay, so I sent you the video that
Yeah.
everybody kind of talked about. What do you about Lana? I'll show it here.
I love her
What do
so
you think
much.
of it?
She's my moon twin, so I feel
Okay.
for her a lot.
Leo moons. Okay.
Yeah, Leo
Yeah.
moon.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, she's one of my. I really love her as a chart, and I mean, I love her as an artist, but I also love her chart. And I think that video, like, she does kind of recognize, like, as she's getting older, like the cancer and like those involvements. But I think she probably really felt connected with the Gemini with how good she is with words and
Yeah.
communicating. But she also has a lot of other placements that support that. Leo Moon is a very creative space, but I think almost everyone has that experience with astrology where you start off thinking you're the wrong sign.
Yeah.
I think everyone
Right.
has that.
Yeah.
And then most of the time when you get it right, it's the sign you always bitched about. Like, no joke.
Yes. Yes. And so with her, okay, and this just popped into my head. So a lot of people find it funny, my reactions to she's changed a lot over the years. Her music has changed. She has evolved a lot. And she got sober too. I think she's been sober
Yeah.
for 14 years. And I have been a little judgmental of the men she's chosen in her life. Just not them personally, it's the people that she uses in her music video. Usually the older men, and she plays that role as a younger woman. I
Yeah.
have a lot of they know, like, given my being my ex, along with a lot of things happening, but also cheating on me with a woman who was almost my exact birthday, 10 years younger. There's something about it that I just get like bleh, grossed out by. So, but
She's been hard for me. Like
yeah,
I kind of feel like the older aunt that's like,
yes,
God bless it, Lana. What are
yes,
you doing?
I know. I know. But so what do you think in her based on her chart, like what would pull her so much? Is this more psychology, like daddy issues, or is this like do you see it in her chart?
I do see it in her chart.
Okay. What do you
So
mean?
okay, I'm gonna tell on myself a little bit.
Okay.
Leo placements, especially in the big three. So okay, Leos also kind of get a stereotype of, being so confident and just too
Hmm.
much. And honestly, that's all fake.
Yeah.
If you have Leo in your big three, I know that you were a child that came out and were very animated and probably a little loud
Mhm.
in more of a quiet place. And no one wanted to listen to you. No one wanted to validate you. And so you kind of go through life searching
That's
for that
right.
validation. But
Yeah.
we need to learn it ourselves. And her having it on her moon, damn it, like,
Okay. Okay. This makes a lot of
and
sense.
also like, and not to call you out, but Scorpio risings, I feel have to like learn everything hard. Like and they have to learn it themselves too.
It
Like,
has been brutal. It's been
yeah,
a brutal, I would say, like several years, 4 years, I would say, of the past. Like,
yeah, it
right.
started really getting intense for, I would say 2020
Yes.
was, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
for
It
sure.
was everything changed. But what's weird is that I feel like I'm finally reaching the other side of it where I'm appreciative of the challenges because they've made me even do the YouTube channel to do my
Yeah,
art and writing the book and just the things that have come out of it have been from intense pain and struggle though.
yeah.
I think that that's Lana too. She's had to learn, go through all of that too.
Yeah, and again, yeah, she's one of those that has to learn on their own. She's Scorpio rising, and then the Cancer and Leo, like those are the two luminaries of the chart. Those are the two lights. So she's burning at all ends sometimes, but hopefully, I hope she can turn that in and give herself her own light.
I
So,
think she's
but yeah,
there more so now. What
yeah,
about, I didn't ask you to do this, so if you didn't, it's all good. But what do you think of Taylor's chart?
I love Taylor's chart. We just
Okay, okay.
we just
Please
kind of
tell me.
went over it. I do a Patreon. I have a Patreon, and I teach a group of, and they just asked me to do Taylor's chart, so
Love it.
I don't have it far, but a lot of people argue about what Taylor is rising. A lot of people have a lot of
Mm-hmm.
different beliefs in that,
Okay.
and that's kind of what I was making them. I wasn't making them, but we were kind of arguing each side,
What do
each
they think
or
other
whatever.
than Scorpio?
Huh?
What do they think it is other than Scorpio rising?
Some said Sag and some said Capricorn.
Okay.
And I know she's a Sag sun.
Yes.
Um,
Forget what moon she is.
isn't she a Cancer or is
Cancer.
she a Gemini? Hold on. I have her somewhere. Yes, she's a Sagittarius sun, Cancer moon, Scorpio rising is what this one has that I truly trust. And I think again, a lot of people were just like Scorpio rising. She's
Exactly.
healer. But one of my girls was so like she fought that case and she was like, but Scorpios have to transmute all of
That's
the
true.
negativity. And
Yeah.
she's done it 1,000% and has
Um,
made it her own. The symbolism of the snakes, like
yeah.
they went in, and I was like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, but I mean, she's got some darkness in her that she's had to, like, that she's not afraid of, I don't think anymore. And when she just no longer wanted to be the perfect little pop star, like, she is,
yeah,
and she doesn't care. And yes, she's all about transmuting the negative.
yeah,
Like, but she plots, like, I think that she really does plan everything out too.
yeah. And people
Yeah.
forget that Scorpios are like they are the investigators. They are the
Oh, yeah.
brummers. They are,
Yeah.
like when she does stuff like that, I'm like, okay.
Yes. That makes me
But yeah,
understand myself a little bit more too. So it's
I
like,
do think she's the queen of transmutation. We have seen her like go at that time. Kanye West and Kim Kardashian were a lot bigger than her,
Yeah.
She's had her stuff stolen. I mean,
Oh,
she's
that's
had some of the worst
horrible.
stuff. And
And
now she's the
yeah,
most successful.
I
She
know.
didn't, she never shied away from what she went through. She took it and transmuted it and changed it. And I think that's the essence of Scorpios. And I think the reason why Scorpios have such a hard time in this world is like you guys are fixed signs. So that means you're in the middle of a season. And so
Okay,
that tends to be the loyal, like not very good with change. So like cardinal signs are the initiators. Mutable signs are really good with like endings. They're the end of the seasons. They're good at wrapping shit up. The fixed signs are the ones in the middle, and they're known as the heart of the seasons. They're the more stubborn: Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius.
okay, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, my sister's
And,
Taurus, stubborn as
and
in.
I just think it's so unfair that like Scorpio is put as this like fixed sign, but also they're once you understand that as a Scorpio, your power is dying and changing and transmuting and being reborn constantly, then
Yeah,
you get it. But it's
that's
so hard starting off it because you're so fixed and you are so loyal and you are so dedicated. But you have to be dedicated to the only thing that's permanent, and that's change.
oh, beautifully put. It's so true. It's so true. I didn't learn that until a few years ago. And it was like, once you embrace change, it's like my life became a lot easier. I mean, harder and easier at the same time, but it's like
Right.
surrendering and being like, okay, time to pivot. It's like I just feel like I'm always pivoting and changing. But I, wow, I just had a thought. That was just, yeah, it's like that's a Buddhist concept where they always talk about the two things that you can count on in life is change and suffering,
Yeah.
the two givens. So, okay, it's good to know. Yeah, because I do think Scorpio gets a bad rap a lot.
Most of them do. Most of them do.
Yes.
Most of them are just not really supported. Sun astrology made it stereotypical and just not understood. And it's unfortunate. And I think that's why a lot of people don't go to astrology.
Mhm. Yeah. So what is that about? Is it just like the internet making all these memes that have been, or has this always been there before the negative parts of it? Make
I
people afraid to go
I
to
think
astrology.
that's more. I think that's more of a
Okay.
recent thing. I really do. I mean, I think it's good because like that stuff kind of comes with like more like accessibility and viewing and communication. Um, but it's kind of like you're a little bit like the most dangerous when you only like know a little bit. Like
Right, right.
I feel like that's what's happened a lot with astrology because I mean you have to we focus so much on the sun sign and you're all
Right.
the signs like you're everything so
Mhm.
yeah.
So, what do you think of people when I mean, I have seen people who are just like, they will not date a specific type of, I think it's like a Cancer man or something. I feel like
Yeah.
what do you think about that? Is that shitty? Is it,
I mean, listen, if you're basing stuff off your own patterns, like that's awesome. Like I
okay. Mhm.
there are like certain houses in your natal chart where you will meet people with those certain positions that
Okay.
do kind of challenge you or um in certain ways, but like just saying that, no, like get
No.
out of here. Like
Okay. That's extreme talk. Like
yeah,
that's okay. Okay.
there's so many, like the statistics are astronomical. Like there's first of all, there's 30 different degrees in Cancer. There's 25,000 different ways it could be
Yeah.
aspected with these planets. There's just way too much. And I just, wouldn't cut it off like that for sure.
Okay. And so what do you think of when somebody is starting to get into astrology, but what is maybe one part of it that I hear a lot about Chiron and nodes, but like what would you say for you would say could help someone understand themselves more that maybe they're not even considering?
I always suggest for my students for learning astrology and learning how it goes through you is to first learn how to track the moon. I teach them how to track the moon. So the moon is the thing that's closest to us. It
Mhm.
represents our soul, our inner being. Some people look to the moon sign more than any other sign. The moon moves throughout the whole zodiac within 1 month.
Right.
So it's if you're journaling and you're tracking, it's very easy to say, okay, the moon is in my first house, and I'm a little bit more testy today. I'm a little bit more, and see how you are involved in this universe and see how that comes and start connecting those patterns. The moon is always where I suggest to go to first.
All right, I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. What house, selfishly, I want to know this about money. And how do we know if when we're going to come in?
So there's a couple of different ways to look at money. The
Okay.
second house is very commonly known as money, but it's like possessions, it's values. It is good to look at. A lot of people will
Okay.
suggest to look to the sign over your second house for how to manifest. I don't disagree with that.
Okay.
But the eighth house as well.
Eight, as in numerology too, is eight.
Yes.
Okay.
And I feel like using that energy to manifest money has always been a lot more successful for me than my second house. But I am seeing that my second house is coming more into play as I get older, though, which is
Okay.
very interesting to me. Those are the ones I would, and sometimes 11th house. 11th house is known as the house of like friendships or communities. But in ancient astrology, it was the house of success. So, like, like just like electric, strike, luck, success, lottery, and that could also be the fifth house too. But if you're learning how to try to like bring in more money, second and eighth house is where I would look to first.
Okay. I wanted to help other people that have asked me. They're like, can I go to somebody who it can tell me about my future with astrology, or is it more about learning about yourself right now?
It depends on what you want from me. I do both.
You do both. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I do. I do both. And so like another, when you were talking about like what, so we said houses, but also like Venus is always connected with love, but that lady is about money. She's also, because she's about security. She's about us being comfy. So Venus transits, we never talk about her with money, but she is.
Yeah.
And most of the time people say Jupiter, but
Right. When you say comfy, this is the thing. It's like when I ask about money, but it like at the same time, even though it's not like overflowing, I'm still comfortable. Like I'm taken care of and I've got abundance in other ways that aren't financial. So does that line up with like when you say eighth or the second house, is that also what you mean? Or with Venus, that it's not just material, that it's like
yes,
abundance? Or
yes.
okay.
Yeah. So most people really focus on the second house really being money, possessions, like that of this
Okay.
world.
Okay. Good.
Eighth house is known as the house of shared resources. So it's mostly like the type of money we don't talk about, like inheritance, taxes, investing. It's, and again, so that's why I kind of look at to magic and stuff like that.
Say more on that. What is that? What do you mean by the magic?
So the eighth house is one of those that has a lot of, it's hard to define because it is the house of shared resources. And I'm figuring out that people label different things as resources, or people need different resources or see them in different ways. Because, a lot of people will argue that death is associated with the eighth house. And a lot of people will argue that it's not. I argue that there's lots of little deaths. There's a lot of transformation. It is the house of like, it's associated with Scorpio. It has that energy. So the eighth house, because I don't want to scare anybody, the eighth house doesn't mean death for everybody, because I don't think everybody shares their lives. Now, with famous people, you can track a lot of the times the death is involved with their eighth house, but to me, that's because they shared their life. So, and also if you don't do energy work or magic, that's not a part of your eighth house. But if you do,
yes.
It is. Also, like at the last lecture I was at, a really good insight on just like nervous system regulation. Do we also consider that? Because if you're living with a narcissist and having to walk on eggshells, do we consider that a stealing of energy in the eighth house?
Absolutely.
So yeah, there's a lot of
wow.
There's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of the subscribers, and I've done videos on like recovering from narcissistic abuse. And I know that allegedly Lana's mother was a narcissist. And so a lot of that comes through. But yet, and that's the interesting thing that with the men that she gravitated toward, like trying to understand how that came out, because it was like, it's almost like she has more of a mother wound. But
Well,
I'm,
she does because it is, you're right, because it
yeah.
is with the moon. It is with the moon. But
Okay, because that's always how I felt. I'm like on
yeah,
the surface, you look at it and you're like, oh, she's got daddy issues. But I'm like, no, she actually has a really great relationship with her father. I don't think these older men are because of that. I do think that it's more of a mother wound that she's gone through. Like,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that mother
okay.
wound gets you more than anything. But she kind of has, again, Leo placements, Leo Aquarius placements, like part of your story is dealing with narcissism, like that. That is, and I hate to say that, but it's just true.
What do you mean in what sense? Like other people with it or because
Other people, and then if you don't work through it, then you
yes.
glom
Oh yeah.
onto so you can survive.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
right. And people go one of two ways whenever you have like a narcissistic parent. It's like you either take on those traits in order to,
right.
you know, honestly, both ways are survival.
Yeah.
I mean, it is really, really hard. Okay, with the vibe of the world, like the CEO, people are dancing in the streets that he got shot. But there's all of these conspiracies around like Monopoly. I don't know if you've heard that connected to Monopoly, all of these things. What what's going on? Is it because of Pluto? Because I feel a shift after Pluto.
Yeah, Pluto's a huge proponent to this. Also, though, we are in an unprecedented time,
Yeah.
like astrologically. So you have all your planets. The sun and moon are known as luminaries. Mars, Mercury, and Venus are known as your personal planets. That's where we know about your
Okay.
personality a little bit.
Okay.
Jupiter and Saturn are society planets. They're
Okay.
a little bit slower, they're a little bit out, and they bring us themes of society that we work through, like these little themes. And
Mhm.
then we have the other planets that are generational or called galactic planets.
Mhm.
That's Uranus and Neptune and Pluto. We mostly know Pluto the most as a generational planet. I think a lot of people have seen those memes like boomers are Pluto and Leo, millennials are Pluto and Scorpio,
Okay.
all that. So Pluto and Aquarius is a lot of it. Like it, because if any of you guys have watched my TikTok, I've been studying the past, like what happened last time Pluto was in Aquarius
Right.
and all that.
It was,
Um,
yeah.
and every time Pluto's in Aquarius, there is revolution in some ways, and all in every way I can find. U.S., England, France, Russia, always involved. But also, so Uranus, big guy, he and Pluto are going to have some trines now that Pluto's moved into Aquarius. They are going to have some trines over time. Now,
Mhm.
when Pluto and Uranus trine, that is when we have like big societal changes.
Okay.
We've only had like four in the past like 100 years or so. And that's a little bit wrong. I think it's five. We
Okay.
haven't had a whole lot. Like
Agree at all.
one brought in the Industrial Revolution and stuff
Yeah.
like that. The next few years, we have like five. Yeah,
It's not crazy. It's gonna get crazy. I can feel
yeah.
it. It's gonna get
We my mentor and I we're looking. We have never seen a time like this. Also, Saturn and Neptune will both be at the 29th degree in Pisces. They will both in Pisces and dip into Aries next year. Uranus will also dip into Gemini. So this is the first time in that we've ever been studying planets that me or my mentor or any of us can find that we've had
wow.
so much going on. Because also Saturn and Pisces is a huge deal. Like us really figuring out the truth, what is real, what is
Yes.
not, at the same time while this is
Yeah.
going on. Um, People are also a little bit nervous about Uranus and Gemini. Like we do tend to have the Civil War was big with that. But
Oh,
I'm very interested with Uranus and Gemini with Pluto and Aquarius because I think that's going to be a lot of different technologies. But yeah, we're coming on a bunch of change. Like there's no other way to put it. Like the people are tired,
yeah.
you know, and
The people are
I
tired.
think with the with the monopoly, with what we have
Yeah.
seen recently. So, Aquarius, a lot of people get confused with the sign of Aquarius.
Okay.
They think it's a water sign because he's known as the water bearer, he's the cup
Yeah.
bearer. So, everyone's like, what do you mean he's air? So,
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
he's from the myth. He was the cupbearer of the gods. Zeus picked him out and he was like, you're the most beautiful thing. You need to come up here, hold my cup. And then he looks at the cup and he's like, wait a minute, why do only the gods get this? Because it's not just water. It's not just, it's aqua vita. It's like the
Yeah.
knowledge, the
Yeah.
force. And Zeus is
Ooh.
like, because we're God, so give it to us. And the guy's like, oh, no, forget it. And he's the cup thrower. He flips the cup, and then the knowledge is given back to the collective, to
Oh
society.
my God, you're blowing my mind. This all makes sense. Oh my
If
gosh.
you ever want to know about astrology, go to the myth. It will help you understand the energies. And yeah, and then
Okay.
like there's with my friend Luigi, even though I know he didn't do anything, we had tacos together the other night. Um, to me, he's like he knocked over the cup.
Absolutely. And just to see people's reaction. I mean, everybody is just like, he's a good looking man. And just like that part of it was hilarious. But then also people being out in the street and singing Natasha Bedingfield's song. I'm just like,
So we're having a really interesting time right now with a Mercury and Jupiter opposition. So
okay,
Mercury is, a lot of us are familiar with him. Mercury is like the mundane mind. It's our everyday.
okay.
Jupiter is more higher mind, philosophy, spirituality. Now the
Yes.
thing is they're in an opposition in retrograde. Retrograde is when we seem to like go in, we're reflecting, we're reviewing. But the really interesting thing is they're in each other's houses. Mercury's in Sagittarius, where Jupiter rules and feels the most comfortable, and Jupiter is in Gemini, where Mercury feels the most comfortable. So
Oh,
we've kind of had a swap, and that's why I think for the first
wow.
time we're all kind of on the same side, at least about one thing. I
Oh
have
yeah.
not seen this sort of unity, especially like in class consciousness in any way, ever like in my lifetime, I don't think. And while this opposition of the mind and spirit
Wow.
is going on, it just it's so
I mean,
much.
it's so much.
The astrology is astrologying right now.
Right, right. It really is. I mean, even having my mom who's like, Republican and conservative and whatever, and she's like, well, they are fraudulent, those insurance. It's like, okay, just still be. I was like, this is crazy how it's uniting
Yeah. Yeah.
across party line. You know what I mean? Because it's like it's wrong. Like it's
Yeah.
like it do so much. I mean, I was surprised. I did think that he was going to be more of like. I mean, might not include this, but like I thought that there would be like a story of him like has like a child who had cancer or something who has rejected like the claims. You know what I mean? Like I was
Yeah.
wanting it to be. So I'm really curious to find out
Have you have
happening.
you heard his manifesto?
No.
Okay, read it. Yes, because
Wait, he actually wrote one because I know that he read the Unabomber's.
no, he wrote one. There was one in his backpack, and he explains why he does it. And it makes it seem like he's actually playing Monopoly. And it makes me feel like this is just the beginning.
Oh, I'm actually really excited. Like,
Because it mostly stems from his mom and her pain. He
oh,
talked about watching her pain. And then he had a spinal injury, but it's her
yes.
pain through her neuropathy. And he writes over and over how they just kept getting turned down and prolonged, and her pain, and it
Yeah.
made me cry.
Really?
Yes,
Okay, I have to. I just was glancing at it before we got
but
on.
also it's a little scary because he is. I
You think
mean,
more is going to happen, even though he's in jail?
I don't think he's the only one,
Okay, that would make
because
sense.
you don't play
The game
Monopoly
played,
alone. You
right?
don't play
Exactly.
Monopoly alone, and he's leaving Monopoly hints, which
Oh
is
yeah, Altoona,
insane.
like, is that what it's called? The city, and
Yeah,
that's a big one of the railroad. Like, yeah.
yeah.
Okay, okay. So I don't know if you saw, I did a video on Diddy, and I
Oh, I
went
need to watch it.
Okay, please watch because it's one of my I have to say it's like there was part of me that well, I was very, very attached to Aaliyah when I was young, when I growing up.
Me too.
Okay, yes, when she died, I knew in my I was like no, something.
Something was
So,
wrong.
so it all in my video, I connect all of it, and I know there's some conspiracy theories, but I connect all of it together, and then it's like, and um, it is really dark. Like it's very dark. A Reiki person told me she was like, it's bringing down because I get obsessive, like because I think I can figure it out, even
Huh.
though like obviously it's just because for so long, I mean, the music industry hadn't had their Me Too movement. Like they had it in the movie and film and television, but I was just like, there was it was missing. And I think that the latest thing, I mean, this thing with Jay-Z coming out and
Did you
I
read his statement?
yes, I have this person very defensive. And the other thing is I think he's assuming that we're not really smart because of the statute of limitations, there can't be a criminal case.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, if I really did this, then do a whole criminal, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, it has to be civil.
How did a PR person let him post that?
I don't know, and I don't know if but that's what I think that he might be that out of touch and that much
Oh, I'm
in
sure.
his power that he thinks, and it's deflection. It's about the lawyer. It's not about his involvement in it.
Yeah.
Never mentions Diddy. Doesn't even like try to distinguish himself away from Diddy and say
Yeah.
like we weren't friends at that time. Nothing like that that I think we all needed to hear. And then I also think that we forget about his lyrics even in Beyonce songs have given hints all along. I mean, just even I don't know if you're familiar with the Drunken Love one, where
Hmm.
the cake, anime, eat the cake, I'm Ike. That's referencing Eat the Cake anime from the movie.
Yeah.
And then he slaps her and he's saying, and then she's like, we woke up the kitchen. How did we get here? It's like there's like there's abuse,
Yeah.
violence, drugging, sex, everything. And that's just one of them. It's just like there's a million examples. And for
Yeah.
him to say use Brooklyn as his background of like a justification, it's like, dude, what are you talking about? What
Yeah.
are you talking about?
That statement was out of pocket. That
It
was a Mercury
is,
in retrograde statement that someone should have looked over.
right? So what do you think is gonna like when's more gonna come out, do you think? And like
So I think a lot of that is with Pluto in Aquarius as it moves through further. That's giving us the knowledge. And honestly, like, um, okay, I'm trying to be careful with my words here, but what I what I've studied with the music industry and what I feel, it's sex trafficking, sex slavery. Um, Pluto and Aquarius is also when the transatlantic slave trade really started. Um, and but also when so I'm hoping I'm hoping now is the time that we start the new cycle and we rectify the past 250 years what was started in that. I know that sounds kind of weird, but it makes
no,
sense.
that makes sense to me. No, I'll text you the video so you can watch it because I
Yes, I want to watch it.
people really liked it and I'm doing like investigative work and I'm like I really like
You should.
I
Yeah,
mean I
like,
really like it, but what do you think energetically though? Like does it bring down your vibration? But like I'm
I don't think so. I don't think truth can bring down anything. And also like all of your Scorpion energy, like you maybe making an exercise for you when you're starting and being done to transmute that energy,
yeah,
and just make sure you don't take it on personally, because as a Virgo sun, like you can take it and have your tummy hurt.
exactly.
But honestly, I think you're the perfect person that really could figure it out with your strong Scorpio placements and your um, ability to dig and your ability to see through, and also with that Pisces moon, that intuition from both sides, very much so. So I don't think. I mean, audience, obviously, I don't want you to like lose yourself
Yeah.
in it. Get all.
No.
We have to make some choices, but Whenever I do rough work, I just have a little ritual for me to where I'm like, this is here, I'm leaving it. I put some frankincense oil. Sometimes I'll just, take a bath. This isn't mine. People with fixed placements just really have to understand that it's not their burden to carry, because we do want to figure stuff out. We do want to
I
make it.
want justice. I care
Yeah.
so much about justice, and I
Yeah.
feel as if um there's like a need to take power back right now too
Yeah.
because of I think especially, and I don't want to say like good people or bad people, but because we all, we're all the spectrum shades of all of it. We hold both dark and
Yeah.
light. But I do think that sometimes when people it's so sad because I feel like music is so healing, and I think that that is being taken advantage of, and those people who come into it with good intentions. Um, I think that the price needs to be paid,
Yeah.
I feel like
Absolutely. And,
justice.
and I mean, we've seen it like recently, like we've had all those kid documentaries come out, and Aaron Carter, and then the Nicola, like it's just it's time. We cannot truly heal unless we know what happened, unless we bring that truth to light. And yeah, I'm down for people that start paying for sure. And
Okay.
Diddy's got some rough placements coming, so I'm excited.
Okay, good. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so he does. Looking at my chart quickly, I'm selfishly just when you see my chart, is there any advice? Like, can you do that where you see a chart and you're like, oh, I want to make sure they
Oh yeah. The biggest thing, I would say Saturn has been moving through Pisces for the last year or so, and he's going to continue to do so. The only thing that's going to be different, though, is the nodes next year are going to change. So
yeah,
we've had eclipses in the sign of Aries and Libra, and next year they'll be in Pisces and Virgo.
which is my two.
And you have like some personal placements there. So astrologers can argue about what eclipses mean, but we all agree that they bring a lot of transformation. Um, but I love where they are. Their fifth and 11th house, the very creative and expressing, having an idea and an original idea, then giving it to the world.
Okay, well,
I I feel like you're just going to grow a lot more, but there's going to be a lot of changes in these next couple of years, because when we have eclipses in access, astrology is always a through story. That's why we have the nodes, the north and south, and that's why I make everyone look at the wheel. You have the opposite sisters. There's always like something to look at. And so whenever we have an eclipse, we have it on a certain axis.
mhm.
And your access is the one that's not as tough and is more like really coming into yourself, really like also looks really great for social media growing and all that. So
My
um
second book's coming out next year, which we're doing. We're behind on the edits because of just life, but I mean, it's a dark, like I tell the truth, and I
well,
know
you
it's
should. I
challenging
mean,
with family and whatever, but it's like it's gonna be pretty. It's like looking at pulp culture, but then also, through things within my own life and experiences, and being just very raw and real about it, and about like women though too, and the pressures we have and at aging and
yeah. No, I think for
not
sure.
really.
And you're supposed to be a little dark.